What's going on, Minnesota Viking fans? Welcome to the Purple People Podcast. It is Election Day 2024. It's November 5th. We're coming at you live on a Tuesday, and we're going to talk about a Sunday night primetime win against the Colts. Fellas, how are we feeling today? Just in general, how is everybody doing?
It is a long day for me at work. I will not bitch about work, but we're coming into the holiday season, and some of you may know, I manage part of a grocery store, and it's like hams and turkeys and nowhere to put them because there's not enough space. And all
I'll
that
tell you
came
where to
into
put your hams.
Yeah, I'll show you where you can put your turkey.
all of that came in today, and it's like, where are you going to put it? I have no idea. So yeah, I'm glad to be talking.
Dark, it's not great.
I'm glad to be talking Vikings football and not having to deal with any of that anymore.
Vikings football, that game was not the most entertaining, especially the first half.
It was certainly a football game. Hey, Kathy.
Nice it definitely was a football game. Yeah, let's give a shout out to the regulars on here. Andrew was first in the chat. What's up, Andrew? Charlotte and Jonathan, our power couple, are here. Kathy, hello. Welcome back.
So while we're talking about not Vikings football quite yet, you guys for Thanksgiving, are you traditional turkey people, or do you change it up? Because for a while our family was doing taco Thanksgiving and then lasagna Thanksgiving. We were just winging it, having fun.
I think that's fun. I am pro doing whatever the family thinks is enjoyable on Thanksgiving. Personally, I like to do the big traditional Thanksgiving turkey with all the stuffing and all the fixings to go with it. And then for Christmas, Sundrop, for Christmas,
I thought that was a surge.
Scale it back. I'll do the ham in the crock pot and little finger food, little pickings, whatever like that. That's what I like to do.
And I was going to ask you if they still made surge.
It's still out there in various spots, and I did like it when I was younger. I'll have it occasionally if I see it, but it's hard to find. Thanksgiving for me, I prefer the traditional things, but being a nomad like I am, I'll just eat whenever I can. If my family was still intact and we were all in the same place every year, we would do the traditional thing, especially if my mom was still around. But I remember my mom and dad coming up to New York when I lived there in 2019, and we had Chinese food on Thanksgiving because we were we're not cooking. They looked at me, they were like, "You're certainly not cooking." So what are we gonna do? I said, "Let's look around." And shout out to the great Asian community because it always seems like there's a Chinese spot that's open no matter what day of the year, and they come in the clutch for a guy like me because I hate cooking. I hate it, and
cranberry sauce, yes or no?
I'm good without it. I don't hate on you if you like it, though. I'm not one of those people.
It's one of those things that people either love or they just won't touch it.
Yeah, that'll be there at my house when you come in and when you leave because I'm not going to touch it. I'm glad we can talk about food on this show because I had white people taco night here, and I gotta. It's good. It's pretty good.
White people.
Are you a no tomato on your taco guy?
I am a no tomato on my taco guy.
Oh, I took you for a no tomato guy.
Yeah, so I did ground beef, hot sauce, cheese, sour cream, and sometimes if you want to do the crunch, if you want to go extra, it's a little off brand, but I like potatoes in mine. I love the combination of ground beef and potatoes. I always like it with a cheeseburger too. I always put French fries on my cheeseburger like a 3-year-old, but put some chopped potatoes in that burrito, and then you got to do the extra thing to separate yourself and turn your whiteness down a little bit. Speaking of a guy who's whiter than mayonnaise like myself, you got to lay it down on the flat top for 30 seconds on each side and get it a little crispy.
Hey,
it makes it so much better.
You like this Taco Bell seasoning in your meat?
Whatever the store has. I've never used Taco Bell seasoning, but yeah, mild or medium taco sauce if you want a little spice. Listen, coming from me, having actual Mexican food at my disposal when I lived in El Paso, I can tell you this isn't the best Mexican food you can make, but I got to stay on brand for all of us Kirk Cousins types out here.
Oh, yeah.
I like Fire Breather getting right into it here in the chat, talking about Donkey going to Garrett Bradbury. Yeah, if we're gonna skip forward
He
and
is
give
probably
out
the
Donkey,
safest donkey.
if we're gonna skip forward and give out donkeys right now, Garrett Bradbury had a rough game, and I've been saying for a while that the Vikings need to replace him sooner rather than later. And like,
You have.
I know that there's always other issues that you kind of feel like you have to address first, and he plays well enough over the duration of a season that you've never quite been ready to kick him out. I'm at that point where it's like, let's take that first round pick that we still have in next year's draft. Who is the best center, and what do we have to do to get them like on this team moving forward? I'm ready to move on from Garrett Bradbury.
And I don't want another undersized, quote, athletic center.
No, I
Give me
really
a big
don't.
old hog molly down there you can't push around.
Yeah, I think we all have like a pretty boring take on this because we all agree. I think the Garrett Bradbury experiment has run its course, and I'm okay if they move on. It's hilarious you brought that in because I'm looking here. Fire Breather, I agree with you, but I want to push back because that is who I am as a person. He had the second highest grade according to Pro Football Focus. How that's possible, and that proves that's a flawed system. He had an 80.0 according to.
Yeah, that was impressive.
That's a green. That's a good. The only thing you can get better as far as the colors are blue, which Josh Oliver had. He had a hell of a night. But yeah, 80.0. He was better than Justin
That
Jefferson.
ruins my game ball for Josh Oliver. Dang it.
Nice.
Badberry. I don't know if that qualifies as a pun. It's a pun or not, Andrew, but it made me laugh out loud. Badberry.
My next
Badberry.
to explain what Pro Football Focus says for him, because during Sunday Night Football, they'll put the Pro Football ranking on the bottom, you know?
Yeah.
He's like, what is that? And I was like, well, people watch your game, and even though they don't know what plays are being run or what the play is drawn up as, they grade them on the play and decide how they did. And he goes, how can they do that accurately? I'm like, they can't.
I don't understand it. I think it's a very flawed system, basing on what's good and what's not. There are some times, especially when the stat sheet comes around, where someone looks like they had a terrible game and they did very well, and vice versa. If you watched the other night, clearly he was getting bullied more than I allow any player to have a hiccup. Like Sam Darnold had one where he just threw it in the dirt the other night. That's fine. It's gonna happen.
Like Cam Robinson had like a 50 or something like that.
Yeah, that's another thing too, and that's a fun spoiler for me. That's my game ball to come in to the facility on Wednesday and to have no sacks and only like 2 pressures playing the whole game. Cam Robinson, this move looks wonderful. If he plays like that the rest of the year,
it's
now
so
we'll
weird watching him though after watching Christian Darrisaw, because they're two very different kinds of left tackles. Darrisaw's got those big dancing bare feet and he can do all that, but Cam Robinson is just that big guy that gets between the defender and the quarterback and stops them. I mean, it's two very different styles of play, but both can be very effective.
Yeah, I was trying to finish that point. It was like, hey, coming in that quickly at a position that's very, very crucial, like the blind side to the quarterback is so crucial. We all know that. But I think it's unrealistic to think he's going to play that way the rest of the season. But I think that this is a great move from Kwesi. Let's give him his flowers, Cam and Kwesi, but also realize he played for the Jaguars. He knows the Colts because he plays them twice a year. So he's going to have an advantage. And I don't know that they've played them twice already. I know they've already played once. So he's going to have an advantage there. But I like this move if this is how it's going to go the rest of the year, because I was very worried after that Rams game at the left tackle spot for this team.
And also, Robinson gets to play his former team next week, which is kind of fun.
Nice.
Revenge game. So with my game ball, I'm going to give it to another Cam on the team. I'm going to go Cam Akers. I like him as a running back. They probably shouldn't have let him go the first time around.
His arrival just completely erased, the other running backs that they got. And I mean, I know the depth chart at running back isn't great, but getting Cam Akers in there really made it to where they don't have to lean on guys that just aren't being effective.
Yeah, he's a good little back if he can stay healthy. He's got the ability to to break a big play every now and then, get some positive yards out there on the ground. Like I said, I like Cam Akers. I think they should have just kept him in the first place. If we could not let him go in the offseason, so we have to trade for him again next year, let's just keep him. Let's just keep him on the team.
So the Vikings did have to place an all-pro on injured reserve, which is pretty disappointing. Andrew DePaulo was placed on injured reserve, and Minnesota went out and they got a new long snapper from Detroit. I don't have the name in front of me.
I'll pull the
Smith?
name up. You
Can you
guys
find that
got it
for
in
us?
the chat. I sure will.
They also had to place kicker Will Reichert on injured reserve, and they went out and brought back John Parker Romo, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, Romo, he was the kicker that was with us in training camp, correct?
Yeah, he was cut pretty quickly, though, after Reichert arrived. They told him that he would get a fair shake, and he was kind of upset that they didn't honor that and keep him around a little bit longer, but he's back in Minnesota, so they must have liked something.
If memory serves me correctly, and it usually doesn't, wasn't he also in the XFL?
Yes.
Okay, yep. So, I don't know much about him, but he certainly seems like he's got potential. I hope he's reliable because it was really nice not having to worry about the kicker. It really sucks that Will Reichert got hurt.
Yeah, coming into this game, I guess Reichert had a problem with his hamstring, was it? Quad?
Yeah, I think so, yep.
And then on that first kick, it made it very obvious that he was not comfortable at all. And then during the game, Andrew DePaulo had a hand injury that really kept him from doing what he needed to do. So both will be gone for a while.
Per Mike Garafolo earlier today, the Vikings had to change 2/3 of their kicking operation this week. Former Lions and Bears long snapper Jake McQuaid is expected to continue his tour of the NFC North and signing with Minnesota. McQuaid. I also want to put this out just because it's cool and my stupid brain that works weird. 2/3 of their kicking operation now former Lions and Bears. There are some trades that happen because the NFL trade deadline happened today, and a guy that's continuing his NFC North tour, and I hate the Lions for getting a decent player. Zadarius Smith, former Packer, Viking, and Cleveland Brown, is now signing he was traded to the Detroit Lions in lieu of the Aiden Hutchinson injury. So, damn it.
And the other Smith brother got traded away in Green Bay, which is interesting.
Preston Smith going from Green Bay to Pittsburgh today.
I figured Green Bay had him in their long-term plans, so that trade kind of blew my mind.
Me too. That's why I responded with a single wow. I was like, I did not expect him of all the people. They have a pretty good young nucleus there in Green Bay. So I'll run down those. Go ahead, Kyle.
I enjoyed Zadarius Smith when he was in Minnesota. When he was healthy, he was a good player for us. I haven't really followed his career in Cleveland. I think he's had a couple sacks on the season, off to a decent start, I believe.
Yeah, he's having a real good year this year.
Well, there you go. I hate the fact that Detroit guys, they're really good. And they're making a lot of really smart personnel decisions to continue to add to an already really good team. What world did you guys ever think that Detroit was going to be like the top team in the NFC North? Because they've been bad for so long. I never thought they were going to be this good.
I didn't think Jared Goff was going to be worth anything. I thought he was going to be a placeholder for one season and they'd have to draft another quarterback. So they proved me wrong big time.
I think that's what Detroit thought when they traded for him too, to be 100%.
If we're on the Lions subject just for a second, I'll go through these trades today because there's a lot that went down today. It's pretty cool. But I think
Dallas gave up way too much for a receiver. I saw that.
Dallas.
Who'd they get?
Mess.
I didn't
they got
even hear
Jonathan Mingo, a second-round pick last year for Carolina. They're just putting Band-Aids on bullet holes at this point. The Cowboys are stupid. The Commanders got Marshawn Lattimore. I did not see that today. That's a great move. Tre'Davious White from the Rams to the Ravens. Preston Smith, Packers and Steelers. Khalil Davis went from the Houston to the San Fran. Mike Williams, veteran receiver, went from New York Jets to the Steelers. Yesterday,
Steelers out here making some moves, man.
I did not have them being good this year, and they're quietly winning games. The big one today, too, Khalil Herbert from the Bears to the Bengals. That's a big
Pittsburgh potential.
big
It's unlimited.
Black and gold. Going through November. I'm bringing up October, too, to see if we missed anything. No, we didn't. The last one in October was the Vikings picking up Cam Robinson. I think that was on Halloween, actually. Yeah. Deontay Johnson going to the Ravens. Yeah, a couple of good ones. Last night we saw DeAndre Hopkins do his thing with the Chiefs. That irked me a lot. It's gonna be fun watching Detroit and Kansas City in the Super Bowl.
Adam and I were talking about this. Well, you were too, Smith, but Adam was talking about this in our group chat on how there is some trade speculation for the Vikings on maybe they'll bring in a corner, maybe they'll bring in more help for the offensive line. And we all kind of came to the same conclusion that the Vikings don't have anything really to give up to bring in any of these players. So you can sit here and say they need help at corner. I would agree with you. I don't think they're going to be making any moves.
One thing I thought was interesting, though, like with that Cam Robinson trade, that was a 2026 pick they traded there. So it's not like it's next year's draft even.
Yeah.
Yeah, and while we're on the subject of that, that's kind of where my mind went was, if you're the Detroit Lions or like the Rams a couple of years ago, where you're legitimately like 2 players away from being like, we might go to the conference championship now. You go in because that's your draft pick for next year. You get it now, kind of like a credit card. Hey, get it now, pay for it later. It's the Vikings, I think, are a few players away from that. I'm not into the trading away future asset stuff, but I like the value for Cam Robinson. It was like, what, a 5th in 2026?
I don't think conditional 6th that'll probably turn into a 5th based on playing time.
Is that who you're going to find in the 2026 6th round? I highly doubt it. So that's great value,
My only question,
not like Walmart brand great value.
What are you doing with him next year when our left tackle comes back? Like, are you moving him to guard? Are you trading him?
I have not looked at Cam Robinson's contract. I don't know what Minnesota picked up on that.
I'm going to pull it up now.
I don't know if he's only here for 1 year or what the deal is there. Even at a 1-year rental, a future 6th or 5th round pick, I ain't going to complain.
I mean, look, I know it's one game. I know it's like Smith, you brought up an excellent point. It's against an opponent that he's familiar with. So that's going to help him a little bit as well, too. But from the one game that we've seen, boy, it's a hell of a lot better than trying to stick Quesenberry out there and getting Sam Darnold just absolutely murdered. Like, we already know that Darnold probably likes to hold on to the ball a little bit longer than he should. So he needs pretty solid pass protection up front. So you do gotta, I understand the decision to make sure that you've got as much help around him as possible.
I don't understand why so many teams get rid of these players, even if your team sucks like the Jaguars. The cap hit for the Vikings this year is $2 million. They traded him for a bag of chips.
So nothing. So there's no cap hit.
Last year, his base salary was $12 million, and he got a $5 million signing bonus. Potential out 2024, 2 years, $30 million, $2 million dead cap hit. Dead cap that they ate this year last year would have been $10 million. That's crazy, dude.
The more you talk about that, the happier I think I am about the deal.
This is a great deal. This is a wonderful deal for Minnesota. He's not going to be on the team next year.
And for Jacksonville to get a pick, even though like Jacksonville's not going to be competitive this year, so why not gather some assets and see what you can do?
He's 29 years old. He just turned 29 in October, so he'll be 30 next season, 7 years. He was an Alabama tackle, so of course he's great. Second round pick overall, number 34. So right at the top of the second round. He's a great player. If you have Darisaw, though, you go with him. You drafted him, you paid him. But what a great rental that is. And
he's the better player.
Good for him to get out of Jacksonville. Go get your career somewhere else and have another wow, I didn't see that bottom part. 2024 accrued dead cap hit this year from Jacksonville, $14 million.
Dang.
Cap breakdown, dead cap. I don't know how that works. Oh, it's not the date. So their cap hit this year total was $19.7 million for a 6th round pick. Wow, Jacksonville. Thank you. Let's do business again in the future. That's crazy.
So I was just looking at the Pro Football Focus grades, and
God.
did you know that Aaron Jones had a 49.9 grade?
No, I didn't.
I did because I had that picture saved, but again,
I
I
didn't
don't
think
know.
he played that poorly.
I don't either.
I don't put as much stock into pro football grades as what I used to. When it first came out, I really dove into that. And here's a metric that you can use. And it's an interesting kind of like overview, I think, of a player in general. But I get where it falls apart for me is on a game by game basis. I don't necessarily agree with the ratings.
I'll tell you why I stopped listening to stats, because the one year, as God and the universe would have it, the shit in my face, I made a bet to say throughout Kirk Cousins' entire career, he had a better overall QBR than Daniel Jones. And the one year that I decided to bet against a Giant fan at work was the year they went to the playoffs, beat Minnesota. And the one year Daniel Jones had a better QBR was the year he had 15 passing touchdowns in a 17-game season. That means there were 2 games at some point there where he did not throw a passing touchdown. And their metric was, well, he's a better quarterback. No, my eyeballs tell me he's dog shit and everybody around him carried him.
Right.
So that's when I completely went off the stat wagon, unless it's to brag on Justin Jefferson. I'm like, that's not the same. That doesn't tell the whole story. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I can't do it. Yeah, according to what you're saying, Adam, Aaron Jones and CJ Ham played terrible. And for defense, Andrew Van Ginkel played the worst of anybody on the team.
But did you see that Ed Ingram had the second highest pass blocking grade?
I did.
Good for Ed.
Brian O'Neill or Garrett Bradbury, Brian O'Neill, Ed Ingram is what I have here. He's third and he's number 8.
Oh, Garrett Bradbury isn't even number 1 on the pass block.
Oh, I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at the total offensive grades. They had Garrett Bradbury at an 80, which is a solid green. And like I said earlier, you can only go to blue, like the blue chip players.
Bradbury's pass block grade was 57.1, so he must have been amazing as a run blocker.
I think that was the story of this game. If I can give a brief thing, not to go on too much of a rant, but the story of the score doesn't tell you the game. The time of possession, the yards, and everything leaned heavy on the Vikings. And we got to put into context, the Colts only scored field goals offensively. They didn't score a touchdown, which is nuts, because it felt like at one point in this game, you're like, are they going to fuck this game up and lose it? And
yeah.
Really and truly, the Vikings dominated this game. I think this game was a positive because it showed grit. Your kicker missed 2 field goals and had to pretty much hobble his way around. Shout out to him for having the grit to get through that. Sam Darnold didn't play his best game. He had some picks. You really had to worry, and I love the defense in this game. I thought Jonathan Taylor was going to run all over this team.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, he had 48 yards on the night, and – let's give a shout out to Indianapolis while I wrap this take up. Their defense and their offensive line, very good. I like this team a lot.
If you really wanted to in this game, I think you could have gave a game ball and a donkey to Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could have.
3 touchdowns. He was 28 of 34, so he was efficient. But, man, some of those incompletions.
Those 2 interceptions were both really bad decisions. And then
I'm
not going to put that fumble on him because he got a clothesline from hell there.
Yeah, he got punched in the head again. That's cool. You know what? I gave my donkey out earlier to Bradbury. I'm giving it to the refs 2 weeks in a row. You got to stop letting people punch our quarterback in the face. How about that? How about we just try one game? Maybe in Tennessee this weekend, they won't let him get away with getting punched in the head. Ugh.
Sam Darnold had a really hot start to the season. I feel like it's cooled off a little bit, and he's come back down to maybe more at the level that we expected from him, where you're seeing some throws and some interceptions that are not good. And that's more what was in line with what he's done previously in his career. Do I still think he's a good quarterback and the Vikings can win football games with him? Yeah, I do. And I'm still going to root for him because I like the story. He's an underdog. The media, all the pundits shit all over him. That made me a fan of his because I want to see him succeed. I do think that game in particular, Minnesota tried to do everything under their power to lose it until the defense in the fourth quarter was just like, okay, we're going to go win this game now. Like, someone has to step up and do it. Thank you, Brian Flores. Aaron Jones was doing a pretty good job there, even though he's had a pretty bad grade overall. At one point, he just decided, I'm going to put this game on my back and try to run with it as well, too. So I was a fan of both those two big takeaways for me.
Yeah, on the defensive side, when it came down to the final moments, I mean, Minnesota had trouble getting to Joe Flacco all game at the beginning.
Which was
But
weird.
to seal it away, Jonathan Grenard really picked things up and made sure that Minnesota walked out of there with a win.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, this is great. I have so many other – I'm not talking about the game. I'm thinking about what's happening as you guys give your takes. I'm thinking about different parts of the game that were really amazing. Jordan Addison had he's not going to beat the Garrett Wilson catch from Thursday night when the Jets beat the Texans, but damn, he had a contention for catch of the year. Not a bad
and we
throw
got TJ
by
Hawkinson back in a Vikings jersey on the field too, which was nice.
Yep.
Not a bad throw there by Darnold by any means, but Addison's not like a long rangy guy, so he had to stretch out. Great catch by him. Justin Jefferson's fucking unreal, man.
You know what's insane?
How can Justin Jefferson get like 130 yards? And as a Vikings fan, you're watching the game and you're like, they should probably get Justin Jefferson involved more.
It's insane how spoiled we are as Vikings fans.
So spoiled.
We're damn near 30 minutes into this podcast, and this is the first time. Oh, by the way, Justin Jefferson had 137 yards receiving. We're doing the same thing to him that we did to Adrian Peterson, where, he's great, and it's like you expected Adrian Peterson to have 140 yards on the ground, and
the
if he
Vikings
didn't,
have had their bye week, and Justin Jefferson is leading the league in receiving yards.
Justin Jefferson.
It's the same thing though, where like when Peterson would have 100 yards rushing on the ground,
we expected
it. Kind of a quiet game. Kind of a quiet game for Adrian Peterson out there. It's the same way with JJ. I only had like 87 yards receiving this game.
Right.
He was 7 for 9 for 137. Josh Oliver and Jordan Addison both 5 for 5, and they both caught touchdowns. TJ Hawkinson's back 3 of 4 for 27 yards.
We got to talk about that Josh Oliver catch though, because man, that touchdown catch, they faked that entire Colts defense out. They had no idea what was going on.
They faked me out. I looked to the right, and then there's a touchdown to the left of the end zone. I was like, well, that's why I'm not a head coach or an offensive coordinator.
That defense had no idea what was happening.
That's awesome. And every time he scores, they have to say it. Naylor, I barely know her. Jalen Naylor, 1 for 1, 7-yard touchdown. Shout out to him. A couple fumbles in the game, lost by Darnold because he got punched in the head. I'll say it again. Harrison Smith got a game ball. He's still awesome.
Hey, how about that? How about that trick play? Justin Jefferson 1 for 1 with 22 yards.
Yeah, that was good. I hate those trick
the way
plays.
Aaron
They
Jones
always
made
make
that
me.
guy miss to get the first down was amazing.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I'm like you. Love-hate relationship with those trick plays.
I
As it's happening, I'm always like, this is the dumbest thing ever. Why are you doing it? And then when it works, it's like, that was great. That was a lot of fun. If that would have been an interception or something stupid, I would have been so pissed. I would have threw my phone. But I like the trick play. Every now and then you got to throw out a trick play.
Oh, I will hate it until it works. Once it works, then I'm okay with it.
I love a good fake punt or a good fake kick, and you don't see those too often. But anytime you can fake a punt and your punter just scrambles for the first down, that's the coolest shit ever.
Yeah, so the Colts had 10 points off turnovers in this game and only had 13 points in the game overall. So, I mean, Minnesota may have made this a close game throughout a lot of it, but, man, it really wasn't that close if Minnesota hadn't made those mistakes.
Looking here, Ivan Pace led the team in tackles. Pretty even for the tackles. A lot of 6, 5, and 4. 5 passes defended, 7 times quarterback was hit, 3 sacks. Good day for the defense.
And Pace had to leave the game and come back in, so hopefully he's feeling a little bit better. They'll get him some rest, hopefully.
How about Harrison Smith? Still out there getting it done.
I love
I'm going to get a discount on his coffee at McDonald's.
I forget who he talked to before the game started. Rodney Harrison. And they had a lot of respect for each other. And he was like, put this man in the Hall of Fame. And he was kind of saying the same for him. Like, hey, man, that might be you too. I really appreciate that somebody recognizes how good.
After the game and listen to Aaron Jones talk to the media, what he was saying was so great. He was talking about like putting flowers in Kyrie Jackson's locker and stuff like that. It was amazing.
Absolutely.
He's a real good fit in Minnesota, in the community.
It sounds like he's really liking being here.
He going to stick around, or is the Vikings going to keep him past this year? Initially, it kind of felt like maybe a 1-year rental and he moves on. But I'm
sure Minnesota will have some interest in bringing him back, but the question is will they?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because you remember, Green Bay didn't want to sign him to like $8 million a year. So he signed with the Vikings for like $7 million. If that's his price tag, dude, stay here for 3 more years. I'm down with it.
Yeah, what kind of a hometown discount are you going to give us to stick around? Are you going to do one of those a little bit? Like, sure. I still think you kind of, with what draft pick, I don't know because we don't have any, but I kind of want to draft another running back to kind of add to that group, to kind of build around, to have a better nucleus to kind of build with moving forward. But I like Jones. He's a good part that I would like to see them keep around in Minnesota.
If he goes somewhere else, he probably would have to sign with like Baltimore or something so he can still wear the purple sombrero.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was we broke that down pretty quickly, but here's the part where we got to talk about, okay, the Vikings went on a 2-game skid. 2 losses in 5 days is never fun. A little doom and gloom. But like I said earlier, Detroit
is one of the best teams in the NFL. So that makes that loss a little easier to digest.
I think for me, I think the Rams game was kind of a trap game. They did get Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp back, and it's a short turnaround against the guy that is Kevin O'Connell's mentor. Yeah. But this is the stretch where you really have to learn who you are as a team. I like this game a lot because the Vikings came in, they didn't score. Nobody scored the first half. They were down. There's a turnover, and they're like, now let's figure it out. This is where you really got to win those gritty games. Now there's a 3-game road stretch coming up. At Tennessee, at Jacksonville, at Chicago. I think the Vikings can win all 3 of these games if they play well and don't play down to the opponent.
You need to win 2 of the 3.
I think they need to win all 3 of them. Well, I think the NFC North is absolutely still up for grabs, and I don't believe that Detroit and Kansas City are going to go undefeated the rest of the year. I don't believe it. This could really come down to the very last week, and it looks like it will for the Vikings. Home field advantage would be unreal, and I still believe that Detroit game, the Vikings beat themselves. That was, a 3-point game, a 2-point game? They can beat Detroit. They just have to play perfect. It's going to be tough to do it on the road, but I'm really excited going forward because the schedule is very favorable going forward.
And what was weird is, you watched Detroit absolutely manhandle Green Bay.
Yeah.
And Minnesota, gave Detroit a run for their money. So this division is really interesting to watch, and it's going to come down to being just an absolute chaos at the end of the season.
It makes it fun. It's especially fun because, coming into this season, the expectations for a lot of Vikings fans were really low. So, that we're even having this conversation of, being in the mix, being able to go toe-to-toe with one of the best teams in the NFL, in the Detroit Lions. We're
That's one
pretty
reason
good.
I was kind of shocked after Minnesota lost that game to the Rams, and there was so much doom and gloom on Vikings front. It's like, oh, we're frauds. We really are bad. We just got lucky early. It's like, you were 5-2. People expected this team to win 5 games all season.
Adam, there were people talking about this being a 3-win team or less. Yeah. There were low expectations for this team.
There were some analysts being like, what are the Vikings going to do with the number 1 overall pick?
Which I always thought was ludicrous. There was no reality in which this team had the number 1 overall pick. I never ever believed that.
No. So this is fun. I pulled up the playoff probability, and as it stands right now, it's awesome. Detroit currently leads in the NFC with 97% probability, We are tied with the Commanders at 85%. The Eagles have 1% more at 86, and
I hate the Eagles.
the Falcons have a 90% chance. That's going to be fun. That's going to be a fun game.
The
later
Falcons
on.
are putting it together right now. They are looking pretty good.
Was Kirk truly the missing piece in Atlanta?
It might have been. It might have been. That's kind of crazy. What's even crazier is guys like Colin Cowherd have the 49ers in his top 10, in the top 5 actually, and they're not even in the playoff picture right now. They're not even on the bubble. They are number 9 out of 7. The Bears are in front of them, so that's hilarious. Vikings' current schedule coming up. So like I mentioned, at Jacksonville, at Tennessee. Oh, my bad. I kept saying that we were playing Tennessee for some reason. I had that wrong. So, yeah, at Jacksonville, at Tennessee, at Chicago, and then home December 1st for the Cardinals. These are all winnable games. I don't think they'll win all of them just because math says probably not. But, man, the Jaguars are selling and the Titans are very bad. So, it's pretty cool. I like these odds. I really do. So, you play the Bears twice.
But I think Minnesota needs to come out against the Titans and the Jaguars, and they need to not win the game. They need to win that game and show that they are a really good team. They need to win those games decisively.
I agree.
Yeah, they need to put their foot down and they need to make a statement. You got to build some confidence back for Sam Darnold as well, too. Not saying that his confidence is completely shot, but I mean, hey, he's had a rough stretch here. Let's build the kid back up a little bit.
When he's doing his reads, though, he can't just stop at Justin Jefferson because he's got some other receivers if he keeps his reads. Like this game, when he tried forcing it again to Justin Jefferson, Addison was wide open again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's being seen around the world, especially by the fans and some people's kids that play on the Vikings, because Jordan Addison's dad was on Twitter talking shit.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, he was like, even Stevie Wonder could see that he would have walked it in or whatever. It's pretty funny. Yeah, he needs to go through his progressions a little more, but it's tough, man. This is one of the rare seasons when I watch as a fan and I empathize for a quarterback who comes in with a lot of pressure because he knows if he plays well, he'll get a contract somewhere. He's getting a second chance, like we mentioned, Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield. But you have this pressure because they paid Jefferson $35 million a year to get him the ball, but also you have all these awesome pass catchers on the team. And it's like, well, if he's not open, maybe I can go here. So it's a tough balance. That's why quarterbacks
in a way it's really going to upset Smith, though, but Baker almost upset Mahomes. Almost.
Did you see him get upset when they got the coin toss going into overtime? And he was like, shit. Like he knew what was going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
I am really tired of the Chiefs' right tackle moving before the ball moves. That really pisses me off, and I'm getting
irritated. It's
irritated.
Obvious, too.
It really the announcers are talking about it, and nothing's happening. So
when is the NFL just going to go full college football overtime rules, and just like we're just going to play another quarter?
I think they won't because they want to make the masks believe that it's player safety.
Yeah.
I think that's why. I don't like
speaking of this game, too, did you see that there were several players wearing the defender helmet?
Yeah. Was it the Guardian?
It's really
cap?
not that big.
Cool. I don't care.
Yeah, the Guardian.
That's cool.
I know a lot of people were giving it shit that that's ruining the game. But I mean, when you point it out, I can look back and be like, yeah, I remember seeing a couple people wearing it. But as you're watching the football game, you don't really notice it.
No,
I don't really care. I don't care if they wear it.
Who cares? I don't care.
Let's talk about this for a second because this was really cool. Jamie Erdahl, she's on Good Morning Football, very big Vikings fan. She went on a rant that I'm not going to lie, made me, I don't want to say uncomfortable, but I was like, she kind of oversold it and overhyped it a little bit. But she got the chance to blow the Gallagher and got to be like the honorary guest for the game. And she was so pumped. She talked about this like she got elected to be the president of the United States the next day. Like she went on a 5-minute rant on how like this was amazing and all that. And I really feel like I feel so genuinely happy for her.
Oh no.
There goes Smith.
I guess the internet wasn't.
It's funny though because I told my nephew when we were watching, Jamie Erdahl came up there and I was like, You might have seen her on Good Morning Football, my nephew. I don't watch Good Morning anything.
My
that's
bad,
fair.
guys. When you swipe left on your mouse for an apple, it decides to go back and hit the back button for some
Yeah,
stupid
you got to
reason.
turn all that gesture shit off.
I got to figure that out.
Go into the
Um,
settings, sir. You can disable it.
I'll do that tonight. But yeah, I was happy for Jamie Erdahl. Wanted to point that out because I remembered the comment from earlier. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
guys.
she looked so excited to be up there.
I can't believe we got through this pretty quick, man. I don't want to end the show just yet, but I'm excited that the Vikings are now 6-2. They have a very good chance. I think they're going to make the playoffs. I think we all agree they have a very good chance to make the playoffs. Are they going to make any noise? I think we all agree, not to speak for everyone, but I think Detroit's the best team in football. I know Kansas City's undefeated, but at some point I feel like the levee's going to break there, and Detroit just seems it feels like watching them, they just keep gaining momentum. I can't believe that they might win the Super
Detroit,
Bowl.
they have such an underdog mentality, and it's different from like the Vikings underdog mentality because this franchise is good. I know they haven't won a Super Bowl, but like we have good seasons. We have winning seasons. We're relevant. Detroit, that fan base and that franchise has spent so long being irrelevant and being awful. And now they have the opportunity to be in the conversation of being one of the best teams in the NFL. Like, they're not going to squander it. They're really
Have
not.
you guys seen the headlines and the articles now that are out saying, is Sam Darnold a liability for the Vikings? Now, I take a look at that in a couple different ways because, yes, Sam Darnold is going to make mistakes. And like we always said on the show, if you watch a Vikings game, Sam Darnold is going to do a thing or two that's going to make you furious.
Right.
But he's also gotten a lot better. When you watch him, his decision-making has changed a lot. In the past, when he would have thrown up a pass, like a 50-50, just hit, lob up in the air, he isn't doing that anymore. He's not taking those massive chances. He's just making some bad decisions every once in a while. I don't consider that to be a liability.
I don't think he would have a Kirk Cousins-esque run or career, but if this is the way that he had played from the start, he would have had his chance to be a 5 to 6 year starter, franchise player for a team. He may still get that chance because I think he's only, 26 or 27? I don't think it's with Minnesota. I think clearly their plan forward is J.J. McCarthy, but this is really cool. Like, if you just love the sport of football and you understand the nuances of it, this is really cool to see a guy who, situations are everything. Yeah, there's a guy.
Here's a guy.
But he's a guy that really the situation was everything. That team was awful. And
but what are the options? Do you bench Darnold and play Mullins? Because that's not an answer.
No, you're not. No, you're not doing that. Is he a liability to the team? No more so now than what he was when we were all in love with the Vikings when they were undefeated.
Right.
He was a liability then as well.
I'm with you.
Too.
I don't think anything's really changed.
It really hasn't. All season, you're right. You're 100% right, Adam. All season, he's been good for one or two kind of shitty plays. Oh, hey, there's your shitty Sam Darnold interception. There's there's your boneheaded throw that he's made. It's not any different now than what it was earlier.
Fire breather always makes me laugh. I hate aura so much. It's like young kids speaking like, "Do you have aura?" I'm like, I don't give a fuck if you have aura. Just throw the football well.
It's like when quarterbacks come out in the draft and people are like, "Oh, he's got the it factor. He's got it."
Tim Tebow had it.
No, he doesn't have it.
I think the funny thing too is that Darnold's the best we have, the one we have to ride. I think the best thing, not that McCarthy got injured, but this is the best thing because Kyle put it in the chat a couple times too, talking about if he'd had some, a 3-turnover game like he did this weekend or a 2-turnover game like this weekend, some people will be rumbling for McCarthy to come out. He gives you the best chance now. I think it will be a 1-year rental unless they really want him to come back for another year. But I think he'll get the opportunity to get like a 2-year deal.
I am really glad the Vikings aren't in the same position as Indianapolis is with Richardson, because benching Richardson and having to play Flacco, and now you have to go back eventually, but how and when?
I know you don't watch as much Pat McAfee as like what I do or as what Smith does, but he was like the loudest voice in the room for like, you have to bench Richardson. And then after that performance, he's got to go back on his show and be like, hey, Joe Flacco he really didn't play too well. Maybe we were a little too quick on benching Richardson. You talk about killing a young quarterback's, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not psyche, confidence. You talk about killing his confidence. This is how you do it in Indy.
It's so tough because he has to know better than to say, especially like, I don't care that he tapped out. I don't care about that. 0% of me cares about it. It's going in the press conference saying, I was tired. You have to be fucking smarter than that.
Like I told you guys, and I'm not the first person to bring this up or say this, just say, I had the wind knocked out of me. The wind was knocked out of me a little bit.
That's all you have to do. That's the
kind
thing.
Of a lie. It's kind of a lie, but not really.
That's fine. They lie all the time. Like, they're not going to tell you certain things. Mike Zimmer and his tweets were bullshit lies. Like, we found that out later. You know, you have to carry that, and you have to be a CEO of a company at 22 years old, and it's just a lot to ask because not everybody's going to be like Russell Wilson, where it's like, no, he was made to give you bullshit answers all the time.
Right.
That's what impresses me. That's what impresses me about the little that we've got to know JJ McCarthy as a person. He seems wired to be a quarterback, a professional NFL quarterback, and to lead a team and to lead a franchise, to say the right things and to do the right things and to be that person that the players in the locker room will rally around. Will he get it done on the field? I don't know. I don't know any more than you do, but I believe that he is going to be able to handle the situation.
If I can go on a small rant one more time on this Anthony Richardson stuff, this is so interesting to me. Number one, he didn't choose to be drafted 4th overall. Sam Darnold was 3rd overall, and we all saw him in college and we're like, well, that's a fucking athlete. He can play football. Sucks he goes to the Jets. I think if he would have went to 10 other teams, he would have had a much different career. But that's the other thing too is, like, I'm always, and this is just my opinion, but I'm always the proponent of sit at least 1 year. Like Carolina, if they would have just stuck with Andy Dalton and said, we're going to eat dog shit for 1 year and then we'll play Bryce Young next year, probably would have been a little different. But you throw these guys to the fire, and the gap that we have not collectively announced yet and admitted as a fan base, as a media or whatever it is, the gap from the NFL to college is way bigger than we want to admit. And like we saw it the other day, I said it to you guys, like the NFL is a quarterback development problem. No, the fuck it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Half of the problem is that you don't know how to draft. You're overdrafting people. That's not the quarterback's fault. That's not development. It's just you don't know how to draft. That's your fault. It's not a development issue. These kids coming out of high school and college now, they've had quarterbacks coaches and they've had AAU and all this stuff for 7 or 8 years before they even get to the NFL. That's not the issue. I find it very – I don't understand why because the big thing is, well, you got to get those reps, If you know a guy's only had 20 starts, you're stupid for playing him in the NFL if he's only started 20 games through high school and college. Let him learn. Look at Jordan Love. We all laughed at the Packers. You remember Kyle, I forget his name on Pat McAfee. He always dresses up as Mel Kiper. He stormed out during the live – yes, he stormed out during the live show. He was like, this is bullshit. Look at him in the playoffs last year. Do you think he would have played that way year one if he hadn't sat behind Aaron Rodgers and learned from a great coach? I'm not telling you need to do 3 years anymore. 3 years, people are going to get impatient. I understand. But so many people are going to get fired, and there's so much turnover every year. There's 7 coaches every year get fired, and half of it is because they do this stupid shit where they're like, well, we got to play the quarterback we just drafted.
And your Vikings perspective to wrap this back to Minnesota is that probably the best thing to happen to JJ McCarthy was his injury. It's not really that bad, and you suddenly don't have the pressure to play him because you guys know me in our private chat when I'm just being snarky and being funny when there's an interception, where I'll be like, well, I'll type in here come the cries to start JJ McCarthy if he was healthy. The thing is, though, is that you probably would actually be having some of those on social media right now. And I do think that there is a point where NFL franchises kind of listen to that. Like it can get loud enough at a certain point that they have to make that change. And it is nice that we don't have to do that with JJ McCarthy. He just gets to have that red shirt year now, and just sit back and learn.
Do you remember at the draft when we were all talking? Well, when I say all, I mean us and social media experts, everybody was talking about how Minnesota's general manager, his future was going to depend on JJ McCarthy. And then the Vikings come out and have this season. Is Kwesi's future really that dependent on JJ McCarthy now? I would say it is not as much.
That's a great question. But I think to spin off of that, I think it just shows you how hard and the depth of the job, because who else was a free agent quarterback that's not like, if we would have took Justin Fields, would he have had this turnaround?
Gardner
in
Minshew?
Minnesota? Gardner Minshew, would we be 6-2 with Justin Fields, Gardner Minshew, or whomever, is playing wherever else? I doubt it.
Joe Flacco.
I mean, I'd rather have Joe Flacco than those other two guys.
Jameis Winston.
I do love Jameis on the field.
Yeah,
there's something about him.
We probably would have been 6-2 with Jameis Winston out here.
We'd have been eating W's all year.
Adam, the NFL is such a different beast than what it used to be 10 years ago. That you can kind of, I don't even want to put the bad juju out there, but if JJ McCarthy does not work out in Minnesota, I do not think this is going to happen. But if he doesn't, that doesn't immediately get the GM fired anymore. Like, you can pivot and move on and go a different direction. And if you're still able to win football games while doing so, it's okay. It's okay now.
You heard it here first. Kyle West hates JJ McCarthy.
Oh, shut up. I did not say that. Bullshit.
Why don't you support our young quarterback, Kyle? That's really rude. Yeah, I agree with you, man. If you win, nobody gives a shit. It really doesn't matter, because
so how soon after Christian Ponder should the Vikings have honestly fired Rick Spielman? Right. And they didn't. They stuck with him.
You shouldn't have trusted him after going to after Teddy Bridgewater. And we were all high on Teddy.
I love Teddy. Don't shit on Teddy.
I am shitting on Teddy because it didn't work out. It's not his fault, but I don't think he should have been drafted very well. I should say that differently. I like Teddy. I don't think he was a first-round quarterback, but I think that's more to the point of Rick Spielman not knowing how to draft quarterbacks, which they didn't do well. They didn't. Christian Ponder definitely shouldn't have been 12th, and Bridgewater maybe second or third. But yeah, I think. It all depends. Kirk ended up being a decent move. Some people would disagree with that, but I agree with that.
I'll even say Bradford was a good move.
I love Sam Bradford. I wish he would have stayed healthy.
Yeah.
Ooh. I'm biased on that, though. I will always die on the hill of he threw the prettiest football I've ever seen. He said, and I'm back. That's funny.
Man, Sam Bradford is one of those what if he could have stayed healthy?
If he had been able to keep those knees good, who knows? Who knows?
What was that left tackle that we brought in that awful season?
Charlie Johnson?
No. He was at the end of his career. Was it Jake Long?
That sounds right.
Yeah. I remember, and he only played like 3 games for the Vikings before he got re-hurt and retired. That was another one of those, man. He was good if he just would have stayed healthy.
It sucks when you're a fan of this team and you see all the what ifs or like the whiffs on that, but you don't realize like most of every other team has done that. The majority of the NFL teams have done exactly what the Vikings have done. They just have their version of it. Like we're talking about it in the chat here. There were people draft night in that same draft that were like, the Vikings got to take Johnny Manziel. Could you imagine? And I'm like,
he's got
I will fucking kill myself if they draft this idiot. Like,
he's got aura.
Crazy.
Johnny Manziel has aura.
Oh,
also known as cocaine.
I really thought he was going to be a Dallas Cowboy. I really thought Jerry Jones was going to be stupid enough to draft him, but Yeah. We've been
Jerry
there.
Jones is 100% drafting Dion's kid at quarterback.
And by the way, I think I saw he declared for the next draft, didn't he?
Already?
Yeah.
You can
announced
do
he's
that?
going to declare.
Well, you're wrong on that, Kyle, because they just paid Dak $60 million a year for 4 years. He ain't going anywhere.
Which is, I know he's not, which is 100% why Jerry Jones is going to do it. It's the stupidest. It's the.
All right,
it's
so
the
one of my buddies told me that after Dak got hurt in that game, on the sideline, they had the camera on him, and it looked like he said, "We suck."
We
Yeah,
fucking
he
suck.
did.
That's exactly what he said.
Yeah, because they do.
I actually put that on my Instagram and Facebook story today. If you see it, since it's election day, as a joke, it's written in, and I sent it in the chat. Cowboys suck, and I've gotten all of the replies from my Cowboy fan friends. They're like, "Hey man, fuck you." Like, hey, your quarterback said it, not me. They're having
weird, because the
terrible
Dallas
season.
team is not a team that doesn't have talent or anything like that.
They just don't have
don't know
depth
what
on
it
that
is.
team. They don't have depth.
They don't have coaching.
Part is they have great blue chip starters, but half of them are hurt, and now it's like, oh, you don't know how to draft outside of the second round. That sucks.
Yeah.
And they haven't paid Micah Parsons yet either. If I
Because
were
they can't.
them,
I don't
They
know how they're
can't.
going to.
if I were them, this is why I love talking about football with you guys. If I were the GM of the Cowboys, I would not have paid Dak, just like they didn't extend Mike McCarthy, and I would have said, hey, this is going to be a prove it year. I will pay Micah and I will pay CD because those are great positions, but I'm not paying you $60 million a year. That's
Was
too
it the
much.
Pat McAfee show where they read that tweet from that fan about about McCarthy looking like a green beanbag or something like that?
I don't know, but that sounds like something the Pat McAfee show would do. Now I got to find this clip.
They did have Aaron Rodgers on, as they do every Tuesday, and he trolled the Chicago Bears once again, which was really wonderful.
Ooh, this is a good question from Scott in the chat. At what game Vikings lose in the playoffs do you allow Sam Darnold to walk next season? So essentially, how far into the playoffs do you go? I have to keep Sam Darnold.
If they make the NFC Championship game, you can keep him, and I will say you sign him to a 2 or 3 year deal, like $40 million a year. I get it.
My expectations are a little higher. You've got to win the NFC Championship game to keep him. If you get to it and you get blown out or you miss it on a field goal, whatever, I am stubborn and am still going to move on from him.
I think that if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl for the Minnesota Vikings, he is still not coming back.
Ooh, they're going to
That's a
Trent
great take. I love that.
They're going to Trent Dill for him. They're going to you won the Super Bowl. Thank you, but
I think they are
you.
ready for JJ McCarthy, and I think that if McCarthy hadn't gotten hurt, he would be starting for Minnesota by now.
That's bold, Adam.
I love that. I love that take though, because it's you're not out of the realm of possibility for that to be. It's not like, oh my God, how could you say? I could totally see that being a thing. I think if they get to the NFC Championship game and they really beat it, like, the Vikings recently in the last 6 years, they've just been dog walk by Philadelphia. Let's say they somehow host Philadelphia in a game, or they go to Arizona, they win, and then they beat what other team, like maybe Washington or something, and then they get to play Detroit in the NFC Championship game. I think they'll probably bring him back. But if they go as far as you guys are talking about, I think it's the best case scenario, because he's going to get paid as the player, which I really want to happen. I really want him to get his payday and be secure for life. But that just means like the formula worked. That means the plan offensively worked, and McCarthy will be, driving the car next year. Because I have full faith that he's a smart enough
plays
kid.
like this all season, he's going to get somewhere around $30-40 million a year.
He has to. Some team's going to take a chance on him. Like if you're New Orleans, Derek Carr sucks, and Spencer Rattler is what he is. Like, you go pay Sam Darnold for 2 years. Why not? You already fired the coach. You don't think Las Vegas wouldn't use a Sam Darnold right now? Like, I don't know. He definitely will get calls, but that's a good question, man.
And you definitely don't want to keep Darnold in Minnesota past the 4th year of McCarthy's contract.
Correct.
So, I mean, what you want to do for him, you might be able to keep him around for 1 more year. But even then, I mean, you're forcing McCarthy to the sideline. And the quicker you can get him in there and evaluate what he is and who he is, the quicker you can decide the future of the franchise. Because let's be honest, Sam Darnold is young, and he is playing decent football. But is he the future of the franchise? No.
I don't think so. I like that it's proven. What it proves to me, looking at it now, and this is not a hot take, but what it proves to me is Kevin O'Connell knows what he's doing. And I think we really wanted to see after last year, because starting off that year going 13-4, you're like, fuck, man, we're winning the Super Bowl. I legitimately thought we were going to win the Super Bowl that year. How naive was I to think that? But last year, the wheels fall off when Kirk Cousins' Achilles tears in half, and you're like, shit, we're all the way to week 18 and we're still in the playoff hunt. Like, how is this possible? We got the cable guy at quarterback right now.
And the Vikings were dropping game after game after game.
Right.
And they were still in the hunt.
Still in the hunt. The defense looked really good in the middle of the year. So I think it shows he knows what he's doing, and the team is built really well. But yeah, it's tough, man. That's really I love that take, Adam. That's a bold take to say, even if they won, like he would come back.
Because if Minnesota wanted to do that, they probably would have just paid Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You also, for the first time as Vikings fans, we have to trust that they have an actual plan in place behind the scenes. And underneath Spielman and company, I really don't think there was. It was a lot of just, we're going to throw this at the wall and see if it sticks, and throw that and work. Let's try this. And hey, that kind of worked. Let's bring everyone back.
This is one of the first times in Vikings history that we have a coach, a GM, and a staff that's all communicating kind of on the same page. So
yeah, that's
huge.
Yeah, I shared it in the chat, and we can wrap it up if you guys are ready. It's funny. Seeing Mike Zimmer in a Cowboys hoodie and then Kirk Cousins in a Falcons uniform, and they're actually sharing a conversation. That's the conversation of the year. Just me personally as a Vikings fan. I wish I could have the audio from that, because I really want to hear what they talked about. I really don't think they actually hated each other. It's just one of those working relationships where you're like, yeah, we don't really get along, but we kind of,
right.
We work together.
I don't think they hated each other or anything like that.
No, I think Mike Zimmer actively hated him. I really do. I think he got.
I do think Mike Zimmer hated kickers, no matter what kicker it was. Yeah. He hated them.
Yeah, that was rough.
Because every kicker had no name; they were just the kicker.
The kicker.
I've kind of picked up that habit from Mike Zimmer because I think it's funny, but I do call them all the kicker, the punter, the long snapper. Like,
it's hilarious. Yeah, well, stick around, guys. I'm sorry I kept saying it wrong. Thank you for correcting me, Adam. The Vikings play in Jacksonville this week and then at Tennessee next week. 3-game road stretch. If they can come out, imagine they win 3 of these games. They're 9-2 going into December. Man, like that's, to me, that firmly exceeds expectation. And with that, let's keep that in mind too, because I have the schedule right here. If they win in Jacksonville, at Tennessee, and they win at Chicago, they're halfway through the division. They'd be 2-1 in the division. And you set yourself up for the month of December, 3 home games. The Cardinals, the Falcons, and the Bears. I mean, those are going to be good games. I don't know if they win all of them, but it's pretty good.
Will, you're right. He's not the kicker. He's not the kicker. He's on IR. So he really isn't the kicker.
That's hilarious.
The kicker.
He's a kicker.
This is not a hot take, but the schedule, what I was going to say is they set themselves up so good and overachieving the first half. This is going to be a double-digit win team, and I didn't think that was possible. I really didn't. I thought this was a 7-10 team this year because I really had low expectations for Darnold. But, man, this is going to be fun. Let's see if they can go into Jacksonville and bully up on Sunshine and Doug Peterson. That'll be fun.
I thought I was being optimistic with 8, maybe 9.
Yeah. We should go back. We should do a review at the end of the year when we're bored and we have absolutely nothing to talk about. And let's see how pessimistic we were, because I know I was one of them. Like, we're going to fucking be terrible this year. It's fun. I got to say thank you to everybody. I know we all say it at the end of the show, every show, but we had so much interaction today. You guys were
good show.
And I know tonight is kind of a busy night for a lot of people.
Yeah. It's
There's a bit going on in the country, but so I'm glad you still decided to spend some time with me here.
have a distraction. Have a distraction from World War III that's about to start. Because I don't think, despite who wins, I don't think everybody's going to be very happy tomorrow.
Somebody's not going to be happy.
Yeah. But just be happy that the Vikings currently sit as the number 5 seed in the NFL playoff picture. They would go to Arizona for a wild card game.
I was just happy they jumped Green Bay in the NFC North, so happy times there.
The Packers would have to go to the Commanders, who seem red hot right now. That would probably be my favorite playoff game of the weekend if it started right now.
I wish you could see the mental gymnastics I have to do every time someone says Commanders for me to figure out what it is, because still takes me a minute to go, okay, who?
You know what's great, though? A great dad joke that is a football joke as well. It said, I think Alex Smith would be a great president because he was a commander-in-chief.
There you go.
I like that.
Not bad.
Terrible.
No joke, Adam. I actually really liked Washington football team, and it had grown on me to the point where
I hated it at first, but it grew on me.
So did I. They could have just kept it. They could have just kept the Washington football team.
Yeah. Well, we talked about this on the show years ago, but whoever trademarked all those names was actually genius because they were trying to get a big payday.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Is it
like the Renegades or the Sergeants or Generals or whatever? They trademarked all the possible
Red
names.
Tails and all that. They were all.
Okay. I don't know if you guys know or if anyone really knows the answer to this, but is it true that Dan Snyder knew that he was going to lose control of that team and that he purposely picked Commanders, one of the least popular options that was voted on, knowing that it would piss everyone off?
I did not hear that, but knowing how much of a turd of a human being he was, it does not sound out of the realm.
I heard that they had that they did their own internal study that they paid millions of dollars for to land on a name, and I could have swore it was like Red Tails was up at the top, and that he purposely picked the one that was like the lowest that no one wanted, just to spite him
you're not in your
on the way
studio
out.
Today, West?
Because then I gotta move the computer, and I'm lazy, and I was eating before
looking at your pineapple there.
If somebody would buy me a MacBook Pro, I would set something up nice too. But I have to carry this giant desktop everywhere. I feel you, Kyle. I feel you. I don't want to move anything.
But like Smith was saying, I want to thank all of you for joining us. You can catch the show wherever podcasts are found. You can check the whole library of videos over on YouTube. You can go back and watch videos from 2012 if you want. I don't recommend it, but they're there.
One of our favorite segments, a classic segment, is Adam and I discussing the Taco Bell drive-thru. Who was that passed out? Josh Gordon?
Gordon, there you go.
Josh Gordon in the supplemental draft.
Yeah, our supplemental draft episode.
That's been a while ago, but that episode was a riot. That was a lot of fun.
Crazy times. But yeah, wherever you listen to us, please give a like, a share, a comment, or a review, whatever you guys do. It'll help us get a little bit more traction, get some more views. We are back up to number 1 on Podomatic in the sports department right now, though, so hopefully we can stay there. That'd be fantastic. But we'll be back next week to talk about the game against the Jaguars.
Yes.
And Smith had something to say there.
Yeah, wherever you are listening right now, Andrew, Scott, Fire Breather, MC Sports, Jonathan, Charlotte, go hit the like button or the heart button on Facebook or whatever. I do it every episode. We have one up here right now. We can kind of see live in real time. Please do that for us. We try not to bombard
Smith
everybody.
Your feet pics.
Yes, please. I will rate them and I will judge you accordingly.
He's got to take the pinky toes.
Yeah, the big toes. No, I like the little ones. I wanted to make that as weird and awkward as possible. Yeah, just if you could like and subscribe. Give us some love on the channel. You guys are here commenting, which is great. Just take 2 seconds and do the thing for the algorithm. That'd be wonderful.
It would be much appreciated. And for the guys, we're gonna do this part. Okay.
Sorry.
I had a fantastic month last month on the Viking Age, and I'd like to do that again. So if you get the opportunity, go and check out some of my articles over there. We also have a great team of writers that put out some interesting content over there, and you may agree or disagree with whatever we write, and that's going to happen. That's how things work. But either way, it's fun, interesting content, and I hope you can check it out and enjoy it. You can also check me out on social media wherever you are. I'm on pretty much every one of them at MN Viking Zombie. Go give me a follow, a like, whatever. I'm on all of them. So if there's one I don't have yet, let me know and I'll hop on that one too. Why not?
Nice.
You can find me over on the Blue Sky platform at Vaguely Square is my handle. Give me a follow.
He will be the blue guy.
You're correct. Or there is my photography website, KyleWest84.picfair.com. Follow me. I have a big batch of photos I'm going to be uploading here really soon. So please check that out.
Yeah, you probably got some pretty good ones around Halloween time, huh?
Yeah, I do. I did.
Nice.
You can find me on social media, NC Dog Dude, and I don't really have anything else after that. I am really, really pumped for I'm glad they didn't lose 3 in a row, man. I really am. I'm glad the Vikings.
Have you been able to get back in the studio lately?
Well, that's the goal this week. Last week, I woke up Wednesday morning a week ago this time, and I felt in the back of my head like someone had just driven a nail through my face. I was like, oh, I am sick. What happened in 8 hours of sleep? I'm slowly almost done with that. And yeah, this is the week. I am recording a song for a friend this weekend. Shout out to Monday is Veterans Day for all my veterans out there.
Hey,
3-day weekend coming up. I forgot about that. So
do you get the day off?
yeah, federal holiday. Crazy enough.
Nice.
So
I got to pick it up. Yeehaw.
Yeah. I'm going to be recording some vocals and guitar this weekend, so I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, so we'll be back next week to talk about that game against the Jaguars, and hopefully it'll be a nice win, and we can have a good time and smile and all that good fun stuff. And in the meantime, stay classy, Minnesota.